Well, welcome to this conversation with Topcon today. My name is Anthony Oliver. I'm the host of the Infrastructure Podcast, but today is my pleasure to welcome the Chief Executive and President of Topcon Positioning Systems, Ivan Di Federico. Ivan has been with the business for many, many years, but the last 12 you've spent as the head or Chief Strategy Officer. So you're really, really well placed to talk to us about the way you feel the industry is going to be going in the next few years. How do you see the market right now? And what really excites you about your role taking over the business over the last 6 months?
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to this conversation and for the nice question. Indeed, what we see really confirms your perception. Is a pivotal moment in our history because many things are changing. You see, in the economic perspective, the pressures that we see, but also there's a lot of what I would call confusion, right? In order to see what is exactly right, what is wrong, what we should be doing. And this is one of the reasons why, when I took over the role of President CEO, I really started the program to re-ingrain ourselves with the roots of what we are, where the values come from, and that has not changed. The good news.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
So, what is really that drives what we do? It's to create value. It's to create value for our customers and to create value for the customers of our customers. And that is essentially what drives it. What is the engine behind it? What is our guarantee that our business model will continue to thrive? Yeah, no matter the fluctuations and the inconsistencies we see here and there on the short term. This is the growing population. Yeah. So the growing population and the need to satisfy their for the food, for the infrastructure that they need to move and to express themselves, and the need for higher education, the need to a better life, which is aspirational for everyone now in every continent. That's the engine that drives the fact that we need to optimize what we do by technology, right? Because with the same amount of resources, we need to obtain more. That's the engine behind what we do.
But one of the phrases you use a lot is about the democratization of technology. Yes. And as a technology business, I mean, does that essentially rely on you, I suppose, bringing the cost of your technology down so that it's more accessible? I mean, how do you do that?
That is one thing. Democratization of technology is something that we normally say, not only in Topcon, in our business, because we need to explain in simple terms what are the driving factors for the innovation into the next generation products and technologies. So there are two factors that are extremely important. As we said, technology is important and will continue to be there as a driving force in the business because of the growing population and the expectation of quality of life that they have in terms of food and in terms of infrastructure, which are our sandboxes as a company for the business. Therefore, it becomes important to make the technology that allows this growth to happen available to a largest pool of people that can really utilize it for the benefit for larger businesses, okay? Therefore, in order to do that, it's extremely important that we do two things. On the one end, use the power of expanded volumes in manufacturing to drive down costs. But also, on the other end, be clever in simplifying the technology in such a way that it becomes available. Imagine, if I would do something that's extremely inexpensive but extremely complicated to use, we still haven't got it. Right. What we need to do is to blend these two factors in order to make a technology available and reachable, so utilizable by everyone who wants to grow in modern society. And that's where we stand when we say democratization.
Because Topcon, you've got a clear and I suppose a proud culture of innovation and an entrepreneurial approach to your business. And it's perhaps based on your confirmed Japanese roots. I don't know.
Definitely, absolutely.
But you said recently that I think you've got something like 5,000 ongoing patents.
Oh,
and
yes,
you're
even
doing
more.
something like 10 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you maintain that that culture of constantly looking under rocks and trying to find new ideas?
It is, it stems out of curiosity. And there's the company has to have an atmosphere inside, which in general we can say culture, but it's also about how leadership manage situations where we have, an employee or a team that wants to propose something, and then give them understand what they are, and when there is something behind those that we feel can be, a breakthrough in innovation,
To give them the freedom.
to give them the
actually-
freedom to touch it, and also the freedom to make failures.
Yeah.
Because through the errors is where we understand what needs to be changed, but also people will understand how not to make that same error again.
Yeah.
And so when you do this over time, 2-3 times, you get a very solid professional. And we have a particular dedication in breeding this type of people and the spirit inside the company.
But I imagine you want those results to be ever faster, because as a strategy man, you normally be looking at kind of like 10-year horizons.
Yes.
But I suppose right now you need to be looking at what's happening next year, the next 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
I mean, tell me your vision. What is your vision for the next couple of years? Then don't forget about the next 10 years. What's the next couple of years?
Indeed, stretching to 10 years, it becomes really science fiction in these days. And why is that? Because time and space, in this case things, are connected, as we know. Therefore, because things happen more rapidly, an horizon of 10 years is what used to be like 2 years in the past.
Yeah.
So therefore, let's talk 2 years as more reasonable. Well, very simple. There is a big issue in our industry today. The way I see it, the way our company looks at it. And the fact that many technologies have gone very deep into their field. Right, you do a scanning of something, and now you can get 1 million points or 10 million points in a second in a sort of very detailed look at something. All right, and then the point is that you need to connect. This is only a piece of a solution. You need to connect it to something else in order for the operator of a machine to make sense of what all this knowledge to make a better work. Now, all these technologies are siloed. Mm-hmm. There is no overarching, how can I say, standards, or no overarching workflow that is modern enough to encompass all these, new generation technologies into a seamless and simple way. Therefore, what I see and where the companies that will have success in the future, again, future is 2 years, are those that simplify this entire workflow and make it manageable by the same people that used to be just simple operators or job site managers that would eventually be scared if we continue in this way, and will not adopt the entire potential of the technology the research we did because of its own complexity. Rather, simplifying it and have the background of that deep knowledge, but only at the outside make it simple, and the system makes decision by itself on the background, is where we need to research in such a way that utilize the power of the innovation, but at the same time keep it simple. Again, democratization,
Exactly.
do it right.
It does go back to that democratization of technology.
Indeed.
We're going to get into that technology a bit later on, but just talk a bit about your style, because you took over from Ray O'Connor.
Sure.
How did your leadership style differ from Ray's? I mean, possibly
That's
a
a good
lot,
question.
possibly not very much at all. I don't know.
Yeah, indeed.
How would you describe your differences in style?
Ray, first of all, has been my mentor and my boss for 20 years, and is my friend.
Right. And he's still there as chairman,
definitely,
yeah,
absolutely. So we talk every day. Well, let me tell you. Of course, every person is different, but the critical values, if, for example, this care for the people that bring, the good ideas, innovation, give them the opportunity to work in teams, to fail, and still support them. The relentless attention to the needs of the customer, talking to the customer, no matter which role you have to be there and support and listen. These are the things that I really learned from Ray and that really remain into me night and day. But then the rest is about, being able to continue what, on his furrow, because he's been for 30 years in this industry and have made so many things that really modified it, that's impacted. Today, if you look inside, all the innovations that we have done, think of, certain technology we launch, and so they're really changing the industry. People don't do things after we introduce this like they did before. They just don't. So they are not conscious about it, but we certainly impact it. And it would be my pride to continue to do that, like Ray did.
But of course, business as usual, it certainly isn't right now. I mean, the US administration's changing policies is really, is upsetting the kind of the global supply chains. You're based in California, but you've got Japanese partners. You've got
European operations,
huge global operation.
Right.
I mean, how are you responding?
With an attentive analysis. It's not clear yet. There is no real answer or solution. Things are evolving as we speak. We are extremely cautious in saying something that maybe tomorrow is disconfirmed by the facts. So we are observing. One thing is for sure. We are set in terms of assets, as we said, with factories in North America, factories in Europe, factories in Japan, to do the best job in providing values to our customers. So essentially, we are not scared by this situation. We just need to see in the next coming weeks, as it settles, what is the best course of action, and we will move forward with that. But our customers should not be anyway worried by this, because we started to analyze this since day one. We have ideas already, we have plans, but it's yet too early, to comment on this one. But we will react. We'll do the right things for our customers. That's absolutely sure.
Well, we'll certainly keep an eye on that one. But of course, the business has been around quite some time. I think 1932, and it's interesting to chart the evolution of the business from early post Second World War days in optics and really driving the kind of development of the camera, and then of course moving into surveying equipment, and then really kind of getting involved in GPS and mainstreaming the IMU, the inertial measurement and unit technology. I mean, it's certainly transformed construction and agriculture. And it's been rapid, because if you think it was only 2013 that you first worked with Komatsu to actually fit your machine control equipment into their factory-built machines.
Correct.
I mean, the required pace will continue. I mean, how do you make sure that you continue that extreme pace, with that global geopolitical challenge behind you? How do you do that?
Right. So one thing is the basis of it is to love to do that. Is more and more complicated. You're right. That's what I could sense from your question. But for sure, we are not there to give this up at all. In fact, we have plenty of innovation that we are launching at this Bauma, and even more so at NextCon Expo. So we believe this year will be fundamental as a pivotal year for us to launch new innovation, new technologies that are really revolutionary. The way we do that is we learn from our customers.
Right.
We have a tremendous advantage, which not many in this industry can really claim. And the first one is we have a long heritage. What does a long heritage do for us? Let me explain to you. If you take two leaflets of similar products and you read the specs and the description, they may seem the same thing. Well, there is something that is not written there. And this is about, have you used that particular technology or product in a harsh environment? From Canada to the Sahara Desert. Have you done it under certain conditions, certain machines, doing certain type of job? That is ingrained. All technology, what can happen, what failed, and how we cured it is ingrained in our firmware. The firmware is the soul of that product. It's in there. It already knows how to react. Newcomers don't have any of that. So that's we start from a plateau which is very high, and for us to move from the shoulders of the giants to the next thing is easier. The second thing is that passion. I mean, I'm surrounded by young people. I was amazed this morning. I had, just to give an example, I had a meeting 30 minutes. And with the enthusiasm of these young people, we already laid up, a pattern of innovation avenues that we need to explore for the next 6 months, which is second to none. It's the ability to have people that at nighttime continue to think of their job and wake up with a new idea. This is typical in Topcon, and I foster it.
And Ivan, it has to be, because the needs of your customers are changing rapidly.
Right.
And, yes, they want better products, they want cheaper products, but they also want products which will help them in this, the competitive market, the battle against net zero.
Right.
I mean, how are you helping them in their transformation?
Oh, definitely. So consciousness about, all the environmental issues, and the fight to try to not to alter the ambient where our systems work is at the core of what we do. So the more integration, imagine, our technology per se is extremely environmentally valid, because as you apply it, you are more precise in what you do, you're faster, therefore you utilize less diesel and all of that to make the same job. Therefore, it's inherently good. Nevertheless, as you go into the next generation, where the interface between the vehicle, the operator, and our 3D technology comes closer and closer, we'll be able to measure it. And while measuring it to the deeper degree of precision, what we do, we surface certain things that we couldn't see before. And therefore, we can go and alter the way jobs are done, the way the engine is essentially controlled, and the emissions are generated, to go to the next level of optimization for environmental.
So you're giving them information that they didn't necessarily have before.
We cannot do anything which is evolutionary, okay, if you don't measure to the next level of precision.
All of this...
And this is what we provide.
Yeah. Well, all of this takes investment.
Definitely.
Is that investment ready and prepared in your business to actually take those next steps?
Definitely. So we have been for many years, a company that has generated profit on its own, and we reinvested most of it for our organic growth with new projects and the acquisition of new talents, but also with M&As. And so the balance between organic growth and M&As have been quite even, over the last period of time. The new challenges, required essentially a larger reservoir of financial power, and with the most recent coming into our shareholdership of private equity funds like KKR and GICC from Japan, really will enable us to the next frontier in terms of M&A and investments to get us to the next level, which is required by the global industry.
Well, one of the things that Ray O'Connor used to talk about a lot was the challenge over finding the right people to bring into your business. You may have the money, but you need to also have the skills and to actually drive that innovation. Is that problem being solved?
No. The problem is still there. It's not easy to find the right people because for some reason there are more, how can I say, sexy industries around. And those are absorbing the most of the talents today. Nevertheless, we still are very lucky because in the pool of our product creators, now we don't call them engineers anymore, but really product creation function, which is a blend, a more sophisticated blend of product management, knowledge of the market, knowledge of the technology, to identify where are the avenues to get to something that creates value to our customer. That is a very interesting job per se, that goes beyond. The engineering part is a kind of mechanics. You imagine you have to do things. That's an old term. Our new products are at least have 3 layers. That layer of the instrument, the layer of the software that goes with the instrument that the people interact with, and the layer in the cloud that make that instrument data live into an environment where then we can harvest through AI the big data and derive, information that would modify that instrument in a living way over time. So it is becoming a very modern endeavor, and
new skills.
Definitely, and and calls for new skills to join our business, which is happening, fortunately. So essentially, as the world evolves and vehicles become with 3D and autonomy all together, now is becoming really, really interesting to attract new talents, and we are at the forefront of it in this moment.
Well, you spent the first part of your career, as I say, developing and marketing new products when you first started at Topcon, but then you gained an MBA and you switched to the business side.
Right.
I mean, how do you?
No, I didn't want the business side. Just brought me in.
Well, how do you keep your? You must keep your hand in with the engineering side quite a lot.
Definitely, absolutely.
Have you moved on from that? I don't know. You still like the widgets?
Well, I think of widgets every night, so I bother my engineers every single moment with some with ideas and things they need to try for me. But it's a fantastic relationship. It's like I need them and they need me. So if you would have seen what happened this morning, just occasionally, and how with 3 people we have invented something which I'm really confident we did. That's the spirit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it doesn't matter age, it doesn't matter anything. It is about that particular thing, of that particular problem. We haven't thought about it before. We see it, we share it immediately, and then we start working on it. You can't pay for that.
Yeah.
Right? You can't pay. For people sometimes ask me, how many people work for you? And then I think, and I normally say, I don't know. It depends on their motivation. I have people that when I motivate them work night and day, and people that if you have not motivated, not good enough for motivating, then they may not work at all. So it really depends on the leadership.
Good stuff. Well, let's get back to technology and innovation. I mean, Topcon, you've been at the cutting edge of GPS positioning and machine automation. I mean, what would you say were some of the technological breakthroughs that you've seen radically changing the industry of agriculture and construction, and how are they going to really continue this transformation?
That is such a great question. This would be one of the questions that I would use to when I have engineering meetings, because sometimes you need to detach from the reality of that little thing you're talking about, or it's your problem now, and put that into the context of what's happening around you. So yes, in my career, I've seen many of those. I have many patents myself, so I've been contributing to change things radically. So first of all, imagine what was the world like before the lasers. Laser light and laser technology has enabled so much for the construction industry, because now all of a sudden you have a reference which you can really see, which is really, for example, flat, or you can have an angle controlled by that. That in the 80s made a dramatic revolution in terms of precision, how you tile, how you put things, how you do HAVC correctly. And it was a little gizmo like this. Today, we have evolved that. That's a simple example. We have evolved that into a 3D laser where we can point anything. So what have we really done? For the first time, imagine there is a drawing. Today, that PDF is on your tablet. And now here comes a laser that whenever you say, okay, where is this real point here in the ambient where I am? Push the point, and here the laser tells you that is the point, millimeter level. Not only that, you go there, drill your hole, and then you ask the laser, can you measure that hole? And all of a sudden, this drawing changes because now it's real. Understand? This is science fiction.
It corrects what's actually on the page.
We have connected the virtual world of a drawing to the real world and backwards. So these are the innovation things that really inspire. So that's the laser is one of the things. The other thing is GPS. What GPS made possible after 2000 with the RTK technology is to deliver, this level of accuracy in positioning something like a point or a line in dynamic mode, globally in 3D, in a simple way, just by means of positioning an antenna rigidly linked to the point you need to measure. Now, that is a tremendous revolution, because in the past, imagine we had all this big machinery here, they already existed, but we could only do a flat surface. Now, after that GPS revolution, we can make it round. And so we can make any sort of model and form that we want because of GPS exists easily.
Yeah.
So you see that there's many examples I can give you where things in the last 20, 30 years have changed dramatically because you cannot even design in the past what we can actually do today.
Yeah. Well, your strategy has always been, I think you described it as, to automate the surfacing of the world.
Right.
To effectively
to
let
machine the
machines,
service of the world in automatic
Well,
mode.
to let the machines get on and dig or scrape or do whatever they need to do. I mean, are we nearing the levels of accuracy that are required and the reliability of that to make that a reality then?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Not only that, now we are moving to the next phase where you can really control the millimeter level. So Topcon is the first one to have introduced it's called millimeter GPS in paving. Because as you know, paving works, GPS works very well in X and Y, but is not that accurate at the same level in Z.
Right.
While then we invented a new technology blending GPS and a laser beam, which would be a fan, and therefore, in that case, fan-shaped, and therefore we could level at millimeter level and by combination of these two tensors. Today, we are in the verge of a technology where with the new scanning devices, and combining that with GPS, now we can give millimeter also in X and Z. And this will be the next frontier where millimeter is going to be what measures the difference between one and another piece of equipment.
At which point I leap in and say, and what about AI? Because I imagine that AI is fundamental to your strategy going forward. I mean, tell us, how is AI going to change your business?
Yes, indeed, very, very much so. So AI is a funny thing. We need to be careful at not exaggerating with that because to harvest the power of AI, you need quality data. So, funnily, companies like us, which have XYZT and the precision of these numbers at the heart of what they do.
The T being time.
T being time. These four numbers are all what we do, honestly, is to take absolute care that these numbers are accurate and precise. Because with these four numbers, we can then create applications that rule two branches or three branches of industry: geomatics, construction, and agriculture. So we keep that knowledge about having the numbers taken right at the core of what we do. But with that said, as you speak of AI, if you have good data out of your sensors, then AI, which is essentially a re-elaboration of this data to find patterns inside them, work much better because you don't have to clean out a lot of garbage. And so we are very well placed to that because the best data in, best data out. Now, what AI can do, and I give you an example that describes it. Don't call it science fiction because it's not.
Right.
And if you bear with us in the next trade shows in coming years, you will see this becoming live. Imagine an instrument. Today, we are talking a lot about the gaps that are in our industry. What is the most important gap? As I said in the beginning, is going to be the fact that we have silos of technology, and therefore now as we have to link them all in order to come to the end of the solution of the data that we want, of the work that we want performed, we have to essentially communicate one another, and there's not always the right standards and so forth. With a piece of equipment that has got AI on board, what happens essentially is this. The piece of equipment or the instrument generate data. The data goes and comes together in a big data format, sort of a data lake, with data that come from all the instruments around the world that are the same. So then we make sense with AI engines of all what we are seeing, and we go back and inform that instrument of how their fellow instruments have been operating in similar.
Yeah.
They will learn from each other. So every day we switch on that device, it has morphed into something new that knows better.
Right.
So now it's a live relationship between the operator and its instrument that grow together.
Okay.
Understand? So it's a fascinating world. Where is the end game with this? I don't know. But I know how it will work because it will be us operating with the instrument. The instrument learns from us, learns from all the other instruments, which means learns from all the other operators in the world, and lead to something special for us that will give us, suggestions or recommendations, or actually make measurement that we didn't possible. But he found a way to do that, and that is the beauty of it.
Well, I don't want to scare anyone, but it sounds like the rise of the machines. But
no, it's the rise of a more clever way of doing things together, so that we really today we have this type of satisfactions with people only. We want you to have it with our instruments too.
Well, one of the things you also talk about is mission-critical communications.
Yes,
ensuring that these fleets of machines that are all driving themselves can operate in safety and also with security. And I think crucially on that security thing, because there's a number of folk out there who perhaps want to try and interfere with the operations of these machines. I mean, is that possible? Is that something we need to worry more about?
Definitely, absolutely, definitely. So. This mission-critical communication systems, we acquired Cetel, which is essentially the leader in radio communication in our business. And through Cetel, we launched a new program even before the acquisition, but certainly after the acquisition, we empowered it, because we have to solve this problem. I don't know if you see it, but you said, we have to think a little bit in advance.
Yeah.
So thinking in advance, we have a job site with all autonomous vehicles. Okay, autonomous vehicles work in this way. Every vehicle, according to what needs to be done, as the job site today, they receive a mission from the cloud. And then while execute their mission, so all together in a swarm mode, they need to communicate to each other, because every vehicle may encounter some difficulty or an obstacle. They need to stop or they are late for some reason. It's harder than they believe and so forth. Therefore, they need to readjust the mission in a constant way. Now, we already mentioned there is one communication to the cloud, one communication vehicle to vehicle. What happens if all of this works but communication doesn't? So you understand. Imagine in a traffic situation, one of the problems people don't think of autonomous vehicles, when we have all of them autonomous, and for some reason there's a communication breakdown in the air.
No, I worry about it. Don't worry, Ivan, I worry
we
about
can coggle the entire London city in a second.
Yeah.
You understand that? So now I don't want this coggle situation happening in a job site. So we started to think of a new radio system. So what is the radio system of the future that really enables autonomy to happen? And therefore, we thought of a mission-critical radio. So what it is, we have different radio systems. Now, we have long-range Bluetooth, long-range Wi-Fi, we have UHF, VHF, SPED spectrum, LTE by cell phone, and satellite. If we put it all together into a single device, into a single firmware, the most important. And we utilize technology like Satellas that's been developed for years in the industry for utility, where you have these monitoring stations along very long lines, pipelines for gas, pipeline for electricity, where you have different media to communicate, because if you have an interruption on a cable, you want to go radio, but if that radio doesn't work, you want to go with another system, and therefore that knowledge exists. Satellites did both. So we combine it, we create this new firmware. Therefore, we start, and each vehicle start to communicate in what is the best way, the best technology in that moment. If there is an interference or something happens, there's a breakdown, you won't see anything. And I have very nice videos, because we have tested this in the north of Finland and so forth, where you start to inject some jamming here and there, but all the other vehicles, with 3D MC stop operating. And you see our system continue, because the same information has been diverted over another line, and you don't even feel as an operator.
Well, I imagine that
this is mission-critical communication.
And you have to keep on top of that, I imagine, to make sure that you're continuing to be ahead of the next.
Absolutely. And then you have to have this layer of security that happens at cloud level and at firmware level in the edge communication. And that the two things combined make sure that you have a safety bubble of communication around the job site.
Okay.
And so that these vehicles in autonomous mode can continue to talk and finish their missions, even if there's interference.
Okay. So we talked about lasers, we talked about GPS, we talked about mission-critical communications. Right. What for you then is the next big thing in technology?
Well, this is a very interesting question too. I believe it's in this streak of the democratization that we discussed. because there's a lot of vehicles that have not been touched yet. And think of the mid-tier and the low-tier in terms of size and cost. These vehicles deserve to be automated because even a construction company, there's one person. He has to do the job on grade, on time, and deliver quality results, like not only the job, but also the digital twin back to the office while he's working to move his truck with the machine to a next job site in the afternoon. We need to enable that such that the entire industry at massive numbers of the hundreds of thousands will manage it. So the next level is that we are able to apply all this technology not only to the top end of the vehicle ranges, but to the low end in such a way that really the entire industry can benefit of it. So it's upon us, incumbent upon us as Topcon and the major manufacturers to scale down the technology to a cost and a simplification such that even a single person company can take benefit of all of this.
So from a business perspective, is that where you see future profits being generated?
Definitely.
Or is it just it does actually?
Yes. But nevertheless, business has its own stream, so we need to monitor them all. But certainly there's going to be a big river, not just a stream.
In order to do that, are there new markets or new partners perhaps you're going to be working with? Because I know you're doing an awful lot of things in partnership already. Are you constantly seeking what partners? What areas are you looking for partners in the future?
Yes. So of course there is a segment in business which we call the pre-competitive segment. Okay, so even if we compete with some other company in the same industry, there are things which are, the base research and stuff that can be joined. Because then we use the results of that for application in our own ways. But this base cost needs to be shared. So there's a lot going on in there, where you will see the mainstream players work together to establish standards, for example, in order to have that shared cost in terms of base research. So that one is one thing that I see happening. The second one is partner with the most brilliant companies, being them startups or large. When there is somebody who has invented something very interesting that can be conductive with the rest of what we do to value creation to our end customers, we will certainly do that.
Any names?
No.
Okay. We talked about technology, we talked about you, we talked about your partnerships. Let's finish on customers.
Yes.
Ivan, what is one message perhaps that you'd like customers, maybe even partners who are listening to this, to take away in terms of how maybe they can help Topcon to develop its business and the other way around?
Sure. In fact, just the word customer doesn't really express the entire thing. Especially I prefer to speak about partnerships because it's a long journey. The battle is difficult. Everyone seems to have the next generation idea, but those who really survive the long term in turbulent weathers like this one in the economy are only a few. So it's establishing very honest relationship. From our side, the ability to listen what didn't go through, what went wrong, and to provide a plausible correction and make sure that happens. From the customer side, I always love when they tell us, how we could improve. From our side, internally, is important that all of our customer base knows that we are making our best efforts, and the testimony is our booth here and the level of energy and the renewed message that we are giving to the market as the investments are there, the people are there, and we are here striving to create the next generation product, make you more profitable and create value for your own companies. That's how we find our own energy to continue, and we'll reflect on what you do immensely, radically.
Ivan, it is a fascinating time, a hugely challenging time, but a hugely exciting time, I think, for a business like this. Certainly for the whole of the construction and agricultural businesses, as we try to make it more efficient, more effective, and of course, make sure those outcomes are much better for everybody. So thanks very much for joining me today. Thanks for explaining what this strategy is, and I hope it all goes very well for you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure to have been here today. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.